These 2 bags of freeze-dried breast milk were processed together in the freeze dryer. Before storing them away in a Mylar bag, I blended one in a single-serving Ninja blender, and the other one was hand-crushed. Our goal today is to compare them and see how they do reconstituted. I noticed that the powder that was hand-crushed was more coarse and airy, taking up just under half the space of a Mylar bag, whereas the blended powder seemed more fine and compact, taking up only about a quarter of the bag. Because it was so fine, the blended powder also seemed to clump together and didn't dissolve quite as quickly or easily as the hand-crushed powder. I imagine this could potentially lead to the bottle nipple clogging when trying to feed a baby. I even tried both swirling the bottle of milk and shaking it to see if the blended powder would dissolve more thoroughly. However, once I poured the milk into separate cups, you can see that there was still a large clump of powder that stuck to the bottom of the bottle. In comparison, the hand-crushed powder seemed to dissolve without any issues at all. Weirdly, the blended powder also had a metallic smell to it. I wonder if the high-speed blender I used ended up adding too much heat and humidity to the powder. I noticed that the motor seems strained when blending dry powder in it, so maybe using a food processor or immersion blender would have had better results. It even tasted a little like hot metal. I don't know how else to describe it, which didn't necessarily taste bad, but I don't know if that's something you want to feed a baby. Both powders had a slight lipase flavor to it, which is typical of my milk, but since it was fresh milk that I freeze-dried, the lipase wasn't very prominent, and they both tasted pretty clean, as in not rancid or anything. Now, I personally expected the blended powder to dissolve more fully compared to the hand-crushed powder, but it didn't seem to make much of a difference. As you can see, they both still had a grainy look against the cup. I mentioned this in my reconstitution video, but I'll say it again, that even though the milk may look a little grainy, it doesn't taste grainy at all. It actually has a very smooth texture when put in your mouth. My takeaway from this is that hand-crushed powder seems to do just as well, if not better, than the powder that has been blended. Unless you have a blender that is designed for dry powder, it seems like it can actually affect the quality and taste of the milk, and even cause it to clump together instead of dissolving. If you have had experiences with blending breast milk powder, I would love to know what your outcome was. Please share with us in the comments below.